still take notes. I mean,
Oh, we're on camera.
paper.
This is all about marketing. You're a Dutchman. You're old school. You're
I
another
do my
dinosaur.
architecture in AI now, so if you need me,
There you go. So who needs him anymore, right?
I don't need him. Scary stuff.
Good luck with these eagles.
Thank you. Likewise. Cameras everywhere. I guess it's for.
You are on camera, you are on TV.
Told you
Oh,
these
that's good to know.
These three architects
By the way,
challenge
By the way.
AI.
By the way,
You just go on YouTube.
New or
You should watch it. It's really fascinating.
and you can't opt
They
out.
put their stuff and then they look at your readers. They said it could be a tool, but maybe it's not.
Oh, please no. That you might feel obligated to watch it.
You know,
So you know who's sharing a ton of AI stuff with us about was Ned. He's taken some deep dives into it.
Is he?
You can project site and say, give me something that looks like it was designed by Lutyens in England and make it 3 bedrooms and make it 2 stories and
It's really good. I know.
it's pretty scary.
They got this famous was like he was a rock and roll band who did the album seasons. Gosh, he did the film.
Sorry, Alex is
Famous guy.
texting me.
He's saying, you know, the screenwriters strike
Yeah.
it's over AI. That's what it's about.
Yeah, because they're probably getting replaced.
He said somebody like put in these parameters to do a new Beatles song. It was like pretty damn good. So I don't know. All my children photographers and graphic designers and all these people around the world going, oh, not good. I said, well, you can help me hang this sign or nobody can. The computer can't do this.
30, he's on 37. If I had to guess. Tell us guesses. Because there is no standstill after 37. Yeah, Lakeville. Yeah, Lakeville. Between Lakeville and Raceway.
Good afternoon. We start this meeting at 6:03 on June 13. And that's the start of our meeting. Could you please make a roll call?
Commissioner HAREN,
Present.
Commissioner HARASZTHY,
Present.
Commissioner JAHROMI.
Present.
Thank you, and you can let the record
Thank you.
show that Commissioner Thompson and Chair AMAR are not here.
So any comment on agenda today? Do we have any comment on agenda from the public? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Second.
Okay, agenda approved. Do we have any comment from the public at this time? All right. Any correspondence we need to consider?
There's there was one piece of correspondence that was uploaded to the document center and no late correspondence.
Thank you. And so first item on the agenda, item number 401. Discussion and possible action to approve a sign permit for a new monument sign for an existing office building located at 801 Broadway, including action to approve a categorical exemption pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act, Section 1531.1. May we have the staff report, please?
Absolutely. The sign permit, as mentioned previously, is at 801 Broadway. There's a photo of the existing office building. The project location. The project site is located in the Broadway corridor and is zoned for mixed use. The required setbacks for a project would be 15-foot front, 5-foot side minimum with a 15-foot combined, and a 20-foot rear setback. Signs have separate setbacks that we'll talk about in a moment. The project site is 6,531 square feet and is located on the west side of Broadway, just next to the intersection of Chase Street. It's currently developed with an office building, and the surrounding land uses are zoned for mixed use, and there are offices to the north, south, and east, and residential development to the west. The applicant is proposing to remove an existing freestanding sign and replacing it with a new two-sided freestanding monument sign. The proposed sign would be 46 inches tall and 44 inches wide. The sign face would be 38 inches wide and 24.5 inches high. The total sign area for each side would be 6.5 square feet. Per Sonoma Municipal Code 1816-021, aggregate sign area for each size is multiplied times 0.75. So the total size for the sign would be 9.5 square feet. So overall, the project complies with the Sonoma Municipal Code for the total number of signs, the aggregate signage, and the maximum size. The only slight issue with the standard is the 6-foot setback from the sidewalk, which has been addressed through conditions of project approval. So when the applicant submits for a building permit, those project plans will reflect the 6-foot setback. And the proposed illumination meets our illumination standards in section 1820-130. Here's the proposed elevation.
Do you want, sorry.
Right?
I believe your guys' monitors aren't showing
they're
the
kinda
project very well. Let's try, if you guys will bear with just a second, let us try switching and going back to it and seeing if that fixes the issue.
Oh. Oh, is that better? No. Okay.
I've never seen it before.
No. Are you
Thank
comfortable proceeding?
We proceed. Any question for the staff?
No questions for me at this time.
None from me either.
Thank you. Is the applicant available to make a presentation?
Hi, good evening. I'm Robert Sanders, and I represent architect Robert Bauman. We're here to update you on we brought a nice rendering for you. We worked really hard to make this kind of fit right into be one of the best signs on Broadway, kind of scaled to the right size. It sits back in the landscaping. The board-formed concrete base is a colored base. The graphics are water jet cut, and they represent Robert's new identity. So let me pass this around. I'm going to send the card because the colors are a little more accurate to the actual sign. So Robert and I are here to answer any questions, and the sign's about 4 feet high. It's not. It's kind of a low-profile sign. So.
All right. Any question for the applicant?
No, no questions. I saw I drove by, didn't actually walk by. It looks
Perfect.
All right.
Just one technical question. It was advised that the hours of illumination will be limited to 1 hour after closing. What time is closing?
Well.
Was that a timer, a TBD time to be identified?
Well, is the light, we have to turn it off an hour after?
Dusk? I defer to
Yeah,
Jim,
our standard condition of approval for illumination is for 1 hour after closing.
I don't believe so.
I mean, closing for us is any hour. I mean, sometimes we're working all night, you know?
Okay. So just so I was aware from an illumination standpoint, the sign would be on an automatic someone when they leave
It's
it
on
there?
a, yes, an automatic timer, astrological timer.
Okay.
It shuts off the neon arrow that points into his, no, I'm sorry.
You had me for a moment.
Well, what is the rule? 1 hour after dusk is when it has to be off?
1 hour after closing.
Okay, so if we close at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock?
That's probably true.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for answering.
Thank you very much. Any comment from the public? Any comment from,
Nope, no comments on Zoom.
thank you. All right. And public comment is closed. Now, any comment from the commissioners?
No comment from me.
I think the new signage looks good. That reflects your brand. That's all I have. Otherwise, I have no concerns.
I agree with my co-commissioners. I think it's a very straightforward application and no specific concern from on my side. Can I call for a motion, please?
I make a motion, do you hear? Seems like.
I make a motion to approve this application as submitted.
I second the motion.
And just a clarification, subject to findings and conditions of approval.
Yes.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Herron?
I approve this motion.
Just
Remind me again
aye,
of the verbiage.
aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Harsty?
Aye.
Commissioner JAHROMI?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 3-2.
Thank you.
3-0-2.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the design review application of Susan Sueiro for exterior modification, window replacement, new trellis, shade structure, new deck at 134 Church Street, including action to approve a categorical exempt from pursuant to section 153001 of the state CQA guideline. So, staff report, please.
Absolutely. So the application is for a design review at 134 Church Street for the Obsidian Wine Company, located just to the west of the Sonoma Plaza. Access from Church Street is on the, coming in from the left side from the west. There's also a pedestrian access that you can see a little bit on this aerial that connects to the plaza. The project site is 6,650 square feet, and it's developed with an existing 1,860 square foot building that was constructed in 1843. The project site is within the Sonoma Plaza National Historic Register and is designated as a National Register non-contributing building. As I mentioned, access is from both the west and the east, from the west side of the building from Church Street and the east from Sonoma Plaza. All the surrounding land uses are commercial with the exception of to the west where there's a residential neighborhood off Church. We have some pictures of the boardwalk on the south side of the property and a view of the building from the west side. And there's some parking spaces on site from Church Street as well. The project site's located in the downtown district, zoned commercial, and located within the historic overlay. There are no required setbacks for front, side, or rear. The applicant is proposing to renovate the tasting room, the outside deck, new landscaping, and to construct 3 trellises. No square footage is proposed for the tasting room itself. The exterior modifications include new paint, windows, and lighting, ADA improvements, the 3 trellises, 1 to the east and 2 to the south, and repair and replacement of the existing siding. The landscaping would include replacing the existing and reconfiguring the deck and planter layout. New planting, the new deck would be constructed of wood, and the proposed landscaping would be new native drought-tolerant species, and new light fixtures would be installed around the planters. The east trellis would be 19 feet 18 inches long and would project 11 feet 10 inches from the face of the building and would be set back 3 feet from the eastern property line. There's a small southern and a larger southern trellis. The smaller one would be 15.5 feet long and extend only 4 feet from the face of the building, and would have approximately 10-foot setbacks to the property line. The larger trellis would be 11 feet 4 inches long and would project 12 feet from the face of the building, and the setbacks for that trellis would be about 4 feet. The proposed paint, there's a palette that's been proposed. They're all from Benjamin Moore, Mohegan Sage, Garden Grove, Southern Vine, and Black Beauty. The perimeter fencing and gates would be made out of cedar, and the gate would be painted and have metal hardware to match the building trim. The trellises would have a painted metal frame with light canvas, and one of the other ones would be painted to match the building trim and have some canvas shades. As I mentioned, the building and project site are within the National Register, but they are not contributors to the National Register. However, we do have a report evaluating the proposed changes that found that the modifications from the project would be consistent with the Secretary of the Interior standards. Here are some more photos of the existing site. And the site plan. This is the existing. I'm not sure if you guys, it's coming up very well, but we can see it great. Here's the proposed. And the elevations. And then we have some great renderings. And the proposed landscape and material palette. As mentioned before, the action before Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission is approval of a design review application. We have the findings of approval on the screen. And staff's recommendation is to approve the design review application subject to findings and conditions of approval.
Thank you. Any question for the staff?
None from me.
None at this time.
Thank you. Is the applicant available? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan Sueiro. I am the director of Obsidian Wine Company. We have been producing wine in the Valley for 20 years, and our winery is down on 8th Street East. And we bought this building 2 years ago. We currently have a tenant who operates as a tasting room in the space, and they will be leaving at the end of the year. And we are looking to remodel, update, and improve the building, and particularly the exterior, to make it a more natural, more sustainable environment with all native landscaping as well. So what else can I tell you about the project? My colleague Douglas Thompson is here today. He will be the person stewarding this project as our director of experience for our guests.
Any question for the applicant?
Actually, no.
I did go by the property today, and it does look like it could use a little TLC.
Indeed.
The colors look great. The trellis sounds wonderful, and I have no other questions or comments right now.
Thank you for partnering with Alice Duffy to create the report, which was just very helpful for us to understand what was viewed as an impact to a building within the historic district. And I thought some of the points made, especially how far away from the street view, was good to consider, and the renovations that are being done are taking place on existing renovations that would have already changed that building accordingly. The only real question that I had that potentially I missed it somewhere in the report is, would the fence on the north elevation side where storage is being proposed, would that fence be replaced?
Potentially, we've planned it so that we could replace it because
Okay.
it all looks like it might potentially have some dry rot and some issues.
Yeah, I just, out of everything that was new and being replaced, I thought, oh, it'd be nice if that fence was maybe a little nicer looking. But everything else, I thought, that was it. That was my only question.
It's my goal to replace it all if possible.
Wonderful. And the colors in the natural landscaping look really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also agree that your improvement will add to the quality of your space, and I hope that our visitors enjoy tasting wine in your facility more than before.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes. Any comment from the public? No. Okay. The public hearing is closed. Any comment from the commissioners?
Not from me.
Okay. Can I ask for a motion, please?
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 4.2, subject to findings and approval. And conditions of approval.
Good job. There you go.
Second.
I second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Herron?
Aye.
Commissioner Harris?
I.
Sorry.
HARASZTHY.
Hairsty. Commissioner JAHROMI?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 302.
Thank you very much, and good luck. Next item on the agenda, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve changes to an approved design review application, including changes in exterior siding, color, and dimension of the roof on a historic single-family residence at 553 2nd Street East, including action to approve a categorical exemption pursuant to Section 15301 and 15331 of the CEQA guidelines. All right. Staff report, please.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Elena Lipp. I'm a contract planner with the City of Sonoma. I've not met you yet, but it's nice to meet you. So this project is for modifications to an approved plan at 553 2nd Street East. As you can see, that is a picture of the property before the previously approved plan. So the project is located on the west side of East 2nd Street, south of East Napa. The project is within the Historic Overlay District and approximately southeast of the plaza. The project site is 0.41 acres, is developed with a single-family residence and accessory improvements. It is long and narrow and abuts both 2nd Street East and Nathanson Creek and is surrounded by low-density residential. On October 19th of 2021, the DRHPC approved a project to construct a 600 square foot addition to the rear of the existing residence, remodel the interior, construct exterior patios at the first and second floors, and modifications to the exterior, including a change of paint color on the existing cedar shingle siding from brown to white, re-roof like for like, and new windows in Cascade Blue. The approved project included demolition of various non-historic outbuildings. The residence is a listed historic resource under the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, and required a historic resource evaluation to be performed. The evaluation stated that the house is locally significant under criterion 1, 2, and 3 of CEQA for its association with a post-1909 century residential development on 2nd Street East, for its long-term association with the Kloof family, who were prominent locals, and for its architectural distinction as a good example of a craftsman bungalow. The character-defining features of the structure were its 1 1/2 story side-facing gable with overhanging eaves and exposed rafters, the shed dormer with 4 diamond pane windows centered on its primary elevation, windows in groups on the primary facade, multi-light upper sash on the windows throughout the original building, a recessed porch on the primary elevation, simple brackets at the corners, and its wood shingle siding. So after approval of the project, construction commenced, and during construction, numerous issues were identified. The existing cedar shingles were in worse shape than anticipated and could not be rehabilitated, painted, or selectively replaced as originally planned because they were brittle and damaged. The existing foundation was inadequate to carry existing and planned loads and needed to be replaced in several areas, which necessitated the removal of the front porch. And the roof was sagging due to insufficient support from the foundation, perimeter walls, and decorative brackets, and needed to be removed and reframed according to the standards of the building code. And this is a picture of the building taken yesterday as it currently exists with the shingles removed, the roof removed, and the porch with a newly poured foundation. I will defer to the architect who is here with us today to describe the current status of the building and the work that's ongoing there. So the proposed project today is to change 3 aspects of the approved project. The approved project allowed for shingle painting with selective replacement of shingles. They're asking for comprehensive shingle replacement with either cedar in a like-for-like fashion or cementitious siding, imitation wood shingles. The approved project was for like-for-like replacement of the roof material color, and they're asking for a change in the color of the roofing material from red gray to heather blend. The approved project was for like replacement of the decorative brackets and roof dimensions, and the applicant is asking for reduction in roof length by 18 inches over the overall length of the roof and proportional reduction in the bracket dimensions so that they remain in the current proportion to the roof. And this is to be done for, to be able to use modern constructed trusses. And again, I will allow the architect to explain that in more detail. The site plan of the project site is not changing. There are no changes there proposed today. And I want to walk you through the approved plan set elevations to eliminate the differences. On the bottom is the original existing elevation and the top is the approved elevation. There were some inaccuracies to this original elevation, including the roof dimensions and the roof color. This is an accurate elevation of the roof, which shows that the roof extends beyond the chimney on both ends and shows it in its current red-brown color and not the brown that is proposed. These are elevations of the previous existing, the approved, and the proposed south elevation. And when the roof is retracted behind the chimney, that extension of the roof should probably not be surrounding the chimney anymore. So I just wanted to call out that difference between the plan set and what is likely to be the ultimate construction of the building. These are the north elevations between the existing, approved, and proposed. I also want to call out that there are some differences in fenestration between the approved and the proposed, and none of the differences in fenestration, windows, or roof structure are being pursued this evening for approval. These are the proposed exterior materials and colors. The color would remain unchanged. The material, the applicant asks for like-for-like cedar or preferably cementitious siding, which and the heather gray roofing color. The blue, the cascade blue color of the windows would remain the same. In the noticing for this project, it was a demolition review was noticed. Demolition, according to the Sonoma Municipal Code 1992020, means the act of tearing down, removing, or replacing an existing building, structure, or other physical improvement for buildings, a cumulative removal or substantial modification of more than 25% of the linear sum of a building's exterior walls. Replacement of doors and windows is not considered to be substantial modification. Architect prepared a exhibit showing how much of the existing structure was demolished during construction. The demolition did not exceed 25% across both floors of the structure, and the roof is not included as a part of demolition calculations. So demolition review is not required. It's not being sought this evening. Following up the original HRE on April 20th of 2023, analysis of the proposed changes to the character-defining features of the historic house and how the project as revised would impact those features was prepared. The analysis concluded that the changes to the project would result in no significant impact on the historic resource. The analysis did not evaluate the changes in the dimensions of the roof or the use of cementitious siding. So on June 7th, 2023, a memorandum from Alice Duffy was prepared to indicate that the proposed changes would have no adverse or material effect on the historic resource. Conditions of project approval as proposed would ensure that the project would comply with the Secretary of Interior standards through the building permit process. And there are 3 sets of findings for the Commission to make this evening. The design review basic findings, findings for projects within the historic overlay district or local historic district, and projects involving historically significant resources. And leave it up to you to discuss or ask questions.
Okay, any question for the staff?
I have no questions yet.
I have no questions at this time.
Is the applicant available?
So I believe Steve and Noel, who are my clients and the owners, are going to have a statement. They're going to call in on Zoom. Would this be the time to do that?
The owners, Stephen Noel Andrus, are online on the Zoom call.
And I also prepared a statement.
Architects here as well.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. We're sorry we're not with you all in person. A pre-existing trip and change in HDR date has kept us out of town. We are Noel and Steve Andrews, proud members of the Sonoma community. Steve and I moved back to this charming town with the dream of raising our children here, just as we were fortunate to experience growing up. I was raised in Sonoma and met Steve in high school over the hill in Napa, where he was born and raised. Our love for Sonoma runs deep. Steve spent much of his teenage years here with me, and we have fond memories here. In fact, the Sonoma Plaza is where Steve proposed to me. As we now raise our 3 children here, it has been important for us to be actively involved in our community. We both have coached for the Boys and Girls Clubs, CYO, Little League, Sonoma Soccer, and Softball Leagues, and are active members of our parish, St. Francis. The community involvement that I'm most proud of is chairing the Angel Chief program for the last 7 years that provides Christmas to 25 local families. In 2021, Steve and I stumbled across 553 2nd Street East on the market and went to view the property. As a property that had been sitting on the market for quite some time, it was clear it needed too much work, and all of our trusted friends and family warned us it would be a money pit. Despite recognizing the potential for unforeseen problems, we couldn't shake the fact that this home was the ultimate dream. We resolved to restore this home for our children and friends to enjoy for years to come, as we have no plans of leaving the Sonoma community. We made a decision to make a huge reach for this home and knew there would be stressful times and cramped living quarters along the way, but the end dream seemed worth it. So here we are again today.
After this design reviews board's initial unanimous approval of our project in October 2021, we are here before you again over 20 months later. It is important to note that we are here for a nearly identical scope and seek your approval for 3 additional modifications required to ensure the structural integrity and long-term viability of the home, while still adhering to the Secretary of the Interior's standards. The modifications are necessary because major issues were discovered once the project got going. Our architect, Jim Wilhelm, will outline the extensive problems momentarily. But what once seemed like an exciting project quickly transformed into an uphill battle, testing our resilience, financial resources, and spirits. Noel and I and the team of professionals we hired went into problem-solving mode to get our home to code and structurally safe for our family to live in the most economic way possible, while importantly, taking great care to maintain the same historical design plan for the look and feel of the home. To compound matters, the moving goalposts and stringent expectations set by the city, influenced primarily by the concerns of a single citizen, in response to the necessary work we did to ensure the safety and integrity of the home, caused and is still causing significant delays in our progress. This journey has left us feeling battered, and at times when the project has felt completely out of our reach, we have even contemplated selling to the highest bidder. This outcome would jeopardize the authenticity and local spirit we hold dear and would very likely result in having to sell to a non-local buyer who would treat this property as an investment or second home and not give it the special care and attention it deserves.
Amidst these challenges, we come before the Design Review Board again today with a specific request for the modification of the originally approved HRE. While we are aware there are other concerns and complaints about our project that revolve around the process in the city, a conversation we would love to be a part of tonight is about the approval for the following 3 modifications that Elena brought up. The shingle replacement, replacing the shingles with hardy board for fire safety, long-term maintenance, and cost effectiveness. Roof color change, replace red-brown asphalt roof with brown asphalt roof that is more historically accurate to the original 1908 brown shake roof. And the roof rake and brackets, slightly shorten the roof rake and brackets to avoid a costly structural stabilization. Our architect will be discussing these items in detail shortly. We understand, appreciate, and share the passion of our fellow residents who want to see Sonoma's charm and history preserved for years to come. And we recognize that 553 2nd Street is a contributing factor. As stated by multiple architectural historians, our project will ensure that the home maintains its historical significance while transforming a structure that was dilapidated, structurally unsound, and not habitable into a home that can be enjoyed by our family and future generations for years to come. Thank you for your time. And now we'd like Jim to present some of the details of our project.
Hi, commissioners.
Is this on? I'm Jim Wilhelm, and I was here, like Steve said, 20 months earlier. I'm going to just lay out some of the samples on the floor here so you can look at them. And sure.
Just to make it easier, follow along with these handouts.
Thank you.
I know it's a little bit involved.
Here. So I've laid down on the floor just the roof sample, the new proposed Heather Blend roof sample, and then I specifically can point to the painted cedar shingle, the actual wood, versus the hardy board. And as you can see now, there's not really a discernible difference just looking at them. And then that small piece of metal is the approved Cascade blue color of the window trims. I'm going to read a prepared statement, but first I just have to take a deep breath because just hearing Steve and Noel, man, it's been a hard, long journey. And I'm sure that you can hear that in their voices as well as mine right now. So I'm going to try to make it through this, okay? And we'll get to the facts. In October of 2021, I presented this project to the Design Review Board and it passed unanimously with thanks and appreciation from the board. Here are some of the comments we received from the Design Review Board on our project. Present member AMAR JAHROMI, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I appreciate your approach. I'm looking at this as a very positive improvement to that existing building. Present Chair Kelly AMAR said, you are very thoughtfully doing this for the neighborhood. As far as making modifications on the rear, keeping the curb appeal the same, well, making, maybe that's wild, making it a whole lot better with the white paint. It's just going to be so beautiful. It's kind of dreamy right now. It's not very Sonoma, which is bright and happy, and it will really come to life with the paint alone. I don't have any problem with the changes that you're making and appreciate what you've done so much to preserve, so much work to preserve this home. Third comment. Terry Burt commented, this is a beautiful project that you're working on, and I appreciate the report that you put in explaining all the setbacks, explaining what you're going to do. The painting does break everything up. You're really enhancing all the features on the front end of the porch. I love the idea of the sleeping porch and the light it will bring through, and I'm excited to see this come through. Congratulations. And finally, past chair and present alternate Charles Cormany said, I too, when I was looking at this, that was one of the first things I thought of. There's a lot of dark brown and the colors are going to be very nice. I think what's interesting is that the bulk of the work, or the bulk of this, you don't even see. It's not even visible from the street. It's all on the back end. And from what I see, the design elements, the construction, the second story porch with the railing is going to be really nice. You did a really nice job. Compliments to you for keeping the integrity, and the outcome is going to be really nice. This is going to be a great project. So before I get into some of the details, that is the end, sort of all we want is the right path forward. That's all we've ever wanted. And I feel like this is our goal, is to just find this common ground that we can all move forward and agree to, because in the end, we all want this to be the project that Steve and Noel do. Regrettably, numerous shortcomings in methods and materials were discovered during the demolition phase of the construction process. Despite the homeowners and design team's commitment to preserving the historical elements and the character of this home, the actual conditions encountered on site presented unforeseen challenges. These challenges encompass issues with the concrete foundation, such as spalling, non-existent sections, and insufficient rebar bracing, shingle siding, cupping and splitting, windows broken and misaligned, and framing, deficient connections and smaller than typical members. Like sometimes you get flat framed, studs that were turned on end the wrong way, things like that. And we have documentation of all of this. It is crucial to emphasize that despite the encountered challenges, the commitment to preserving the character-defining features of the home remains steadfast and continues to guide the design direction. The intention to retain the historical elements, like-kind replacements, and unique character of the house remain a top priority throughout the construction process. To substantiate these inadequacies, both I and the general contractor, Robert, have furnished the city with tangible samples and accompanying images, effectively illustrating the encountered obstacles. Moreover, we've included letters from both the painter and the structural engineer describing the specific challenges encountered during the project. These materials serve as tangible evidence of the issues faced and contribute to a comprehensive understanding of the site's conditions. After assessing the condition of the current construction, it was unanimously decided to reinforce and reframe the roof and certain sections of the original main house. This involved introducing concrete foundation walls where none had existed before, and pouring larger ones where necessary. And I should add, that meant deeper in a lot of cases. So they were digging down sometimes 8 feet to hit the necessary bedrock. To accommodate this, the front porch had been removed to create a foundation along the south side of the house where no foundation previously existed. It should be noted that the supportive beams of the porch supporting the second floor were not connected to any structural elements. And I think by this we mean they were just toe-nailed in. There were no sort of mechanical connections, the ways construction methods were done back in 1908, which I think is over 100 years ago. My math's not great, but no. Now I've lost my place. It should be noted that the supportive beams of the porch supporting the second floor were not connected to any structural elements. The reconstruction aims to faithfully replicate the original design while ensuring structural integrity. Additionally, new roof trusses will be installed to preserve the original roof's shape and slope. These trusses will effectively distribute the weight and load across the perimeter and new foundation, adhering to proper construction standards and codes. Measures such as shear panels and appropriate rake and bracket lengths, will be implemented to ensure compliance. The rake with decorative exposed brackets will be replicated with slightly shorter dimensions to maintain the pre-existing design characteristics while maintaining structural safety without having to over-engineer ornamental brackets. Furthermore, this adjustment will not be discernible to the naked eye, and it should be noted that during the project construction, the contractor discovered that the outrigger brackets, those are the brackets that have the 45-degree sort of kicker, were supposedly meant to support the large rafters, were only toe-nailed into the existing walls, which is wholly inadequate for the loads they are meant to support. Rebuilding the rake and brackets back to the pre-existing condition beyond 24 inches would entail significant additional expenses for the owners associated with the engineering, reinforcing, construction, and materials evidenced in the materials submitted to the city. In instances where replacement of materials or products is necessary, it will be carried out in a manner consistent with the like-kind principle as recommended by the DOI in accordance with the character-defining features specified in the reports provided by the architectural historians hired to evaluate this project. Today we are here for a nearly identical scope as we were a year and a half ago. And the first exhibit that was the slide that Elena showed is the first exhibit that you guys should all have in the 11 by 17s. It just shows the street facing east elevation and just shows basically that not much has changed. Let's see. So the three things that we're looking for are seeking approval for are as follows. Number one, the shingle replacement, designed to look extremely realistic, almost indistinguishable from highly combustible cedar shakes. James Hardie shingles are durable, resistant to rot, warping, cupping, and splitting, and will significantly be less expensive than wood shingles when considering the complete cost of installation, painting, and maintenance over the long term. The use of this material is like in kind to the original shingles and visually hard to distinguish. They would be painted with Benjamin Moore HC27 Monterey White color approved in 2021. And again, just for your, this is the original shingle. Should I pass it around?
Sure.
This is a cedar shingle painted the same color, and that's the Hardie.
This is the cementous.
That's the cementous fiber one, right? The roof color change. As part of the new roof dressing and framing, the current red roof shingles, which are not historically accurate, will be replaced with roofing shingles that align with the historical context in terms of color and texture. The selected roofing material for this purpose is CertainTeed's Landmark Pro Heather Blend asphalt composite shingles. That obviously is that. Would you like? Should I pass this around? That's good.
I think we can see that
These shingles have a higher relief profile, resembling traditional cedar shake roofing materials from the past. The roof rake and brackets, and if you go, the second exhibit shows that material board a little more closely. And again, this is color copying, so the colors aren't perfectly accurate, but those are photographs that are relatively, I think you can get the picture. And the last page shows kind of the relative, this is the rake and bracket detail that we're discussing. So if you're not super familiar with architecture terms, that bracket is the lightly shaded piece. And on the left, that's the longer, that's the existing or was the as-built condition versus the right. And you can see, for instance, there were real 2x6s as those two pieces that are dark that sit on top of the bracket. Those are no longer kind of available. So a real 2x6 in modern terms is 1.5 by 5.5. So you can see that slightly, those are, all the proportions of all the framing members are slightly different. So that's part of it. Bear with me one more second, I'm almost finished. So back to the roof, the rake and the brackets. The rake with exposed decorative brackets will be replicated in kind with a manner of a 9-inch reduction in the size. The overall roof change is less than half of 1% and will not be discernible to the naked eye. So again, if you go back to that first image on the front, on exhibit 1, you can see the overall dimension string down below is, I believe, 41 feet 11 inches, and that's changing to 40 feet 5 inches. So 9 inches per side, overall 18 inches. This modification primarily aims to uphold the code. Our structural engineer says we basically need a 24-inch overhang. If we go further than that, then it has to become, we have to end up reframing the walls or adding more sort of bracing and framing, blocking, that's the term I'm looking for, within the walls at every spot, and recalculating everything. Thereby, that would avoid additional expenses for the owners associated with engineering, reinforcing, construction, and materials required to stabilize longer decorative brackets. Pre-existing brackets were found to be toe-nailed into the existing walls, as I mentioned, and which was wholly inadequate for the loads that they are meant to support. Sort of in conclusion, all of these modifications have received the endorsement of Alice Duffy, an architectural historian who holds CRIS certification in architectural history and history, ensuring compliance with the Secretary of the Interior standards. Ms. Duffy conducted a historic resource evaluation, a 60-page HRE, for this project in 2021, which underwent a thorough peer review process with overwhelming support of Laura Ackley, a second person that they had hired on. Ms. Ackley, who also holds CRIS certification in architectural history and history, reviewed the current modifications and told my clients, quote, "The home is lucky to have them," throughout, end quote. Throughout the project, Alice Duffy has provided multiple consistency analysis reports to accommodate the minor changes being made, reaffirming her professional opinion that the project continues to adhere to the Secretary of the Interior standards. With the support and guidance of myself, architectural historians, and structural engineers, the Andres are looking forward to being able to progress and complete the restoration and rehabilitation of this home, which was in dire need of repair. The project team is dedicated to not only restoring the home to its former glory, but to also rehabilitating it to meet modern standards of functionality and comfort. By preserving its unique architectural features and maintaining the connection to the past, the restored and rehabilitated home will serve as a testament to the rich history and heritage of the community. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any question for the applicant?
I am just feel so bad for this family and what they've gone through. This is a little over my head. Because I wasn't here in 2021. It looks great. I again today went by the property and saw that it was just the frame left, and I'm going to leave it to my other commissioners to make more comments as to colors and the roof, because it's a little bit, like I said, over me. I'm rather new on the commission.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have no questions. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Any question from the public?
There's no one on Zoom right now. Is there any members of the public here who would like to make a comment?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm stunned. This was a house that was a historic home. It has been totally dismantled unnecessarily. The California Historic Building Code addresses the construction changes to historic homes that they don't have to come up to current building codes. Many of them have withstood the test of time. This is almost 115 years old. I have personally worked on jobs that the home was further deteriorated. This house was in pretty good shape. Yeah, there may have been some issues with the shingles outside. There may have been some rot. I have worked on projects that the historic home was jacked up, and all the construction that needed to do on the foundation was done. I don't know if anybody understands the historic building code. I don't know. I know Alice has approved this, and they keep saying that the change in the roof is 1 or 2% or something. It's 25%. You're talking about an overhang that you're taking 9 inches off of. That's very different than doing the whole roof. It's deceptive math. I don't know who made these decisions. I too feel really bad for the owners. I think they're in a position that is just untenable. But without having a professional historic preservation architect, not a historic preservation evaluator, make some decisions on this project. I think that, for one thing, it's not going to be in kind. They have virtually destroyed the character-defining features of this home willfully, as far as I can tell. It had windows. There are places that fix those windows. I've had it done. I wish I could show you a local house that birds could fly through, and the job that conscientious historians, historic preservationists have rebuilt to. They've done rehabilitation on it, and it's really quite a beautiful job. I'm kind of speechless. How can you say that you wanted to preserve a house when you tore it apart completely? You took off all the character-defining features. And without the historic building code, you would have to bring it up to current standards. So I guess my 3 minutes are up, and I'm stunned. So I just don't, I know that the owner is in really a bad position. I know that somebody is responsible for not understanding the process of rehabilitating a home at some point in this. I don't know if it's the contractor or the architect. I do know that if you do demolition or any kind of construction that is not permitted, you are eligible to be reported to the contractors board. I'm a general engineering contractor, and I've been in business for 30 years or more. Sorry, more. I'm getting old. Anyway, there's a way of doing things. This is a very unfortunate situation.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Any question to?
Me?
What was your name?
Oh, sorry, Patricia Cullinan. Yes?
Patricia, they can't interact under public hearing, under public comment with members of the public at this point. They can.
Okay.
If you have a question to address the staff, you can do that after public comments close.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment?
Please.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Rob Wilson. Don't want to get too loud. I am the general contractor on the project. I've lived in the Valley 40 years. I've been licensed over 30 years. I grew up in New England working on homes older than this. And honestly, I've never seen a home in such, not only were all the timbers that we couldn't save and upcycle, which we saved as many as we could and did upcycle, and they're in Nick Grimm's barn in Glen Ellen. So everything that we could save, we upcycled. But there was so much rot, so much damage from both pests. What's the word for, I'm trying to think of the word. I apologize. I'm trying to kind of talk quick, I think. Anyway, the deferred maintenance, there we go. Nothing had been done to this house for a very long time. The dark paint, the sun, you could scratch some of the lumber and it would just come off on your fingers. It was like pulp. Okay, I brought pieces of lumber down that had beetle, holes through them, rafters. So all the windows were upcycled. They were shot. Most of them were rotted where you squeezed them and they went to crap. She's correct. They could be rebuilt to Title 24 standards. I have no idea what the cost would be. They're replacing them with current windows that meet Title 24 standards that are both energy efficient, they look beautiful, and they match all the grid patterns. These people are putting the house back together in a more beautiful way than it ever was. I continued with the demolition more due to safety than any other reason. When the engineer came out and said, this is not going to work, and I already knew that myself, but relied on the engineer to come out and tell us, I have to make changes here, Jim has to make changes here. We have a lot of problems. The framing was very inadequate. Posts did not line up with beams. Connections weren't there. There's still plenty of issues you go look at today if you chose to. But my main concern as a builder is safety, longevity of the product I leave behind, and meeting current standards for a safe house for this family with children. It might have stood up well on some level, but it had reached its point in its age, just like when us as humans reach our point in age and bones just snap. Bones were just snapping on this house. It was that bad. And they're really paying the price for it. This has gone way out of budget. And I have literally cut my margins as a builder back because I feel so bad for what they're going through and what this house, the hand this house has dealt them. And someone that wasn't there every day and didn't look at every piece of lumber and didn't look at all the conditions cannot speak to what condition this house was in. They can't. I can. I was there. And I can bring plenty of other witnesses in. We upcycled the windows that were salvageable. We upcycled every piece of lumber we could. And I can, again, bring the person in that has it in a barn, everything we could upcycle. We were so conscious as we did what we did. And we only dismantled what we did because it was unsafe, and we were already under the understanding that we had to bring this up to code, period. And these people have all the right intentions in their heart. They're bending over backwards to do it right. It's going to cost them an arm and a leg, and I feel terrible for that part for them. But let's let them put it back as beautiful as it was approved originally, because that's all they're doing. It's putting it back as you guys approved it. So let's just make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. No question for the applicants? All right, thank you. So any comments from? I'm sorry? Yeah, the public hearing is closed, to say. Any comment from commissioners?
No comments from me.
I'll speak to the 3 bullet points that are being proposed, as I am a new commissioner, so I cannot speak to the approval that was done in October of 2021. With that being said, to replace the shingles with the imitation-like shingles, the James Hardy siding, I did go see it at 623 2nd Street East. I've been walking by it for a while. So thank you for giving that as a reference so that you could see it live, which is very different than a small sample. I thought it looked nice. In regards to changing the color of the roof, I appreciate that someone on your team did go out to a certified architectural historian to advise that the change in the roof color swap would actually be more historically correct. So I also appreciate that from your team, which was an extra effort put forward. And then lastly, reducing the dimensions of the rake overhangs by the 9 inches and the roof overhang by 18 inches in order to limit the cost of what I would imagine to be a very large sum structurally as a structural feat. I do not have concerns, as I believe that that structure of the aesthetic of the home that takes it into the historically significance of the 3 reasons why it's CEQA, I believe that feels like a good move forward. So that is my note.
Thank you. I appreciate the effort that the owner went through and the design team to identify unsafe conditions in that building and find a way to make improvement for the safety of people who are planning to live in this building and future generation that might be using this. I also understand the public's concern about the historical value of the original building. I think we're at the point of finding a compromised situation that keeps the integrity of historical building to the extent possible while providing safe environment for the residents. And relying on the report that the historian made and conclusion that they arrived at to say that the building after this modification wouldn't really compromise significantly the historical value of the building. I think the improvements are necessary to sustain the safety of the building, and I agree with the proposed plan. With that, do any of you want to make a motion?
Here we go.
I
I make a motion to approve the 3 bullet points on the project on 2nd Street East as submitted, subject to findings and approval.
Second.
I second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Herron,
Aye.
Commissioner Haraszthy,
Aye.
Commissioner JAHROMI.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 302.
Thank you. All right, that was the last item on the agenda for today. Any of commissioners have any comment at this time? All right, thank you very much, and the meeting is adjourned at 7:08.